I think the conservative Christians are right. Homosexuals should not be allowed to get married in their Christian churches. It's their religion, they make the rules. So I say, make your own religion, make your own rules. Here's my idea for ending the problems associated with same sex marriage. Now, I'm neither a homosexual nor a religious person. I identify as a heterosexual agnostic who is sick to death of hearing about how homosexuals want to get married and other people won't let them. But for some of my friends and family, this topic is much more serious. Some of you might even be personally affected by this topic. Some of you might have friends or family that deal with this. Some of you might be deeply religious and have strong feelings on this topic. Some of you might be like me and just wish that this would be resolved so we didn't have to hear about it every day. Whatever your reason, all I ask is that you hear me out. How do we get homosexuals the right to marry in the eyes of the government while simultaneously respecting the objections of the religious conservatives? Simple. We have them create their own religion. First, let's begin with the legal protections for religions. Title II of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlaws discrimination in all public places for reasons of religion. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution allows for freedom of religious expression. These two documents offer substantial protections for those practicing religion. By creating their own religion, homosexuals would be able to argue that their marriages are protected under the Constitution. This argument would most likely work its way to the Supreme Court, which is where this issue will have to be decided. I firmly believe that if same-sex marriage were practiced under a religion that allows for homosexuality, then the Supreme Court would confirm it as a legal marriage practice, and the U.S. would be forced to recognize same-sex marriage. But why make a new religion instead of forcing the other religions to accept same-sex marriage? The reason for this is because religious people should not be forced to accept or condone homosexuality against their faith. Several mainstream religions have taboos concerning homosexual relationships. To quote the Bible, "If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them." That's from Leviticus chapter 12, verse 13. This doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. There's not a lot of room for acceptance. The conservative core of Christians will never accept homosexuality. It goes directly against their religious, it's against their faith. Under Islamic law, homosexuality is not only a sin, it's a crime. In fact, under Sharia law, homosexuality is punishable by death in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iran, Iraq, Somalia, Nigeria, Qatar, and Sudan. Up until 2009, homosexuality in India carried with it a possible life sentence in prison, although they didn't really enforce that law. In fact, India seems to be grappling with homosexual rights in the same way that we are. Some of their texts allow and condone it, and some of their texts forbid it. After looking at these major religions, it is clear that homosexuals will never be accepted by the more conservative members of these faiths, as they consider homosexuality to be a direct affront to their religious faiths, to their respective faiths. All of these large and entrenched religions have texts that can be pointed to deny homosexuals' rights, which means the only way for homosexuals to get all the religious protections they want is to create their own religion. By creating their own religion, homosexuals can avoid all the arguments with other organized religions, effectively ending the debate before it starts. You don't tell them how to practice their faith, and they don't tell you how to practice yours. But some people will question the legitimacy of the new religion, and some homosexuals will ask why they should be forced to abandon their current faiths. I'm saying right now, the new religion will be completely legitimate, and nobody has to abandon their faith. The only thing I'm asking you to abandon are the people that don't accept you for what you are. Religions can be created, and we take for granted that all religions have been created. Scientology was created from nothing back in 1952, and now John Travolta and Tom Cruise are the major members, and there's big scandals in the newspapers every day. Religions can be made. Now, the U.S. government has no specific criteria on what constitutes a religion, but the IRS has several criteria for establishing a tax-exempt status for a religious organization or a church. To begin, all you need are three people who are not related by blood or marriage, while the LGBT community has that in spades. Then all you have to do is draw up a mission statement, some church bylaws, and then assign corporate officers just like any other company. And as long as you jump through all the proper hoops, establishment of a new church or religion is a fairly straightforward process. I believe that by adhering to these criteria, homosexuals should be able to establish their own legitimate religion. But finally, why should homosexuals be forced to create their own religion? To put it simply, because the other groups don't want them. I know this sounds harsh and intolerant, but follow me on a simple thought exercise. Would you expect a KKK member to bake a cake for an NAACP banquet? No, of course not. Would you force a black baker to bake cupcakes for a KKK rally? Well, again, no, of course not. So why are we trying to force religious conservatives to accept homosexuality? I say, leave them to their bigotry and intolerance and form your own group. Do you want total equality in your religion? Write it in. Do you want to declare intolerance a sin? Write it in. Do you hate the idea of sins in the first place? Don't write them in. My point is, just like the founders of America, if you don't like the rules of the place where you're at, then find your own place and stake your own claim. Not only can this be done, the community is large enough that there's enough support for this issue that this could be done quickly. And who doesn't like the idea of writing your own rules? And there you have it, a solution to the problem of gay marriage in America. By creating their own religion, homosexuals will receive all the legal protections that the other religions enjoy, and will silence the conservatives who believe their religions don't allow for it. Me personally, I think the Church of Science and Equality has a nice ring to it. Thank you.